Ever wondered what the real cost of convenience is in our digital world? Tim Jensen, host of Intentionally Inconvenient, dares to question if convenience is truly the enemy of privacy. You'll explore the essence of privacy, why it's worth pursuing, and debunk the myth that it's a lost cause. Together, you will challenge the notion of, I have nothing to hide, and reveal why every bit of your information matters. Remember, all hope is not lost. It's time to reclaim your privacy in this intentionally inconvenient reality.
Hello and welcome to Intentionally Inconvenient, where we talk about personal freedom through securing your privacy. My name is Tim Jensen and I am your host. Now, in our last episode, we talked about how email is kind of like the museum of you. And so today we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a sense of stopping the data leak. And this is just the first part of two parts, but there's so much information in stopping the data leak that I want to take a good amount of time to cover this without going too long on any one episode. So, sometimes we have part of the problem that we have is that this big bucket of data that we have is slowly leaking. And sometimes it's gushing out, but nonetheless it's leaking. And we need to proactively ourselves start plugging the leak. Because if we don't, all of our efforts towards personal privacy are going to be worthless. Many of these issues are not your fault. We joke all the time about when we're presented with terms and conditions and privacy policies and so forth, and we just scroll to the bottom and click OK or click accept or click agree, and we didn't really read the terms of service. We didn't read the privacy policy because, quite frankly, it's like 40,000 words. It's over 100 pages, and so these big tech companies kind of set this up with all kinds of legal jargon that we don't understand. And what ended up happening is that we just kind of skim through. We don't even read it in most cases. We don't really bother to find out exactly what it is that they're talking about for terms of service and privacy policy. But what they basically do in most of these cases is do everything they can to take away our privacy. It really should be a removal of privacy policy, because that's really what it boils down to. They're protecting themselves. They're not protecting you. Keep that in mind. Most companies bank on the idea that we're not going to read the privacy policy and the terms of service. They expect that we're not going to read it. And let me give you an example. Now, I have type 2 diabetes. At one point, I was using an app on my phone to keep track of the glucose readings, recording it, because quite frankly, my handwriting's awful and I didn't want to write it down in a little booklet. So at one point, I was using this app, and one day a major retailer purchased the app, and I got a notice saying that they're encouraging me as the new owner of the app to join their main pharmacy app instead, and that they were over time going to sunset the app, meaning they were going to get rid of it. And so to get the same service that I had with using the app, they wanted me to move over to their pharmacy website. Well, this is not the pharmacy that I was using, and I really didn't want to save that information with their pharmacy and their company, because they really didn't need to know that information. They weren't my doctor, they weren't my pharmacy, they weren't my anything. And so, quite frankly, I just wanted to record the information electronically so that I knew where I was at with my diabetes. And this app was great because it gave me charts and it gave me long historical records and so forth. But sure enough, on the appointed day, they removed the app from my phone. I was warned about it. I could download the information, but really, quite frankly, having that long-term information is not necessary, or at least not in my mind, it isn't. But the app just, poof, it was gone. It just deleted it from my phone, which left me having to look for a new app to record my glucose number. So, yes, I could write it down, like I said, but like so many other things, I've been used to keeping all of my information stored on my electronic devices. My phone, my tablet, my computer. And at that time of my life, I was bought into what these companies were selling. The free storage of my information. Free this, free that, free everything. But what I didn't do was, I didn't read the privacy policy I didn't read the terms of service, just like everyone else. Right? That's what we do, and we laugh about it, and we make a joke about it on social media. Well, anyway, so now I'm looking for a privacy-respecting app that will just store my glucose information locally on my phone. Don't need it uploaded, because as time goes on, it changes and so forth. I didn't want to be required to create an account just to use the app, because that's what some of these apps do. They require you to create an account. They require you to turn on location information. They require you to turn on Wi-Fi and upload the information. I just wanted to have the data stored on my phone and not be invaded with my privacy. And I didn't want to create an account. I don't like creating accounts if I don't have to. Now, there are times where I think it's necessary, but I'll get into that in a minute. But I want to stop for just a second, and I want to explain something. Any account that you create with a company is an opportunity for that company to learn more about you. And when that company learns more about you, they have the ability to sell to you. With that information that you provide in the account, they can tag it to you, specifically to you, your name, your location, whatever you identify yourself with. We've talked about personally identifying information before. They want to know what your habits are, what your tendencies are, who your family is, what your occupation is, what you do for recreation, what motivates you. Now, I want you to listen carefully to this next statement. I want you to lean in a little bit. I want you to stop what you're doing. Okay, here it is. Any account that you create equals data collection. Data is the currency that you use to pay for free. The currency that you use to pay for free is data collection. I can say it one of many different ways. Just remember, data collection equals the currency for your account. There, I said it 3 different ways. They'll analyze your data. They'll do it under the guise of giving you a better customer experience. Now, I've been in sales, and trust me, I've used that line for years when I was in retail sales. But let's face it, all it is data collection. They can tag the data collection to an individual, analyze the data, make judgments based on that analysis, and that individual is you, and it's me. Always remember that when you create an account, just consider it a data leak. Data collection is a data leak. And I haven't even talked about data breaches in pretty much any of the episodes so far. We're on episode 11, and we haven't even talked about data breaches. I'll say about data breaches more in another episode, but let me just say this. Data breaches happen not just every day. Data breaches happen kind of like every hour of every day. You hear about it all the time. All the time. And some of them are big and some of them are small, and a lot of them you don't even know about because they're about individuals and they don't get on the news because of that. Data collection is a data leak whenever you create an account. And when you trust that company to store your information on the account, just assume that it's going to be breached sometime. Okay, anyway, so I read the privacy policy of the first app that I came across for the glucose meter. We were talking about that. It looked like it was just a very plain app to record my glucose readings. And I read the privacy policy. I could not believe what I was reading. Number one, they were going to store it on their servers, which may be located in a different country. Well, now we're under the jurisdiction of another country. What could possibly go wrong? If my data is stored in another country on a computer, under a different jurisdiction and a different set of laws, what could possibly go wrong? Think about that. The privacy policy, the terms of service were in there. They wanted to know information that was related to cycles that were being charted. And apparently there's a lot of things that you can learn just from glucose readings. I'm not a scientist. I got C's in science and B's in science in school. Not even going to go there. But the stuff that I read, I just feel like I can't even read it online out loud. And maybe I should, but I'm not going to. But let's face it, they don't need to know my health data. They're not supplying me with pharmaceuticals. They're not my company that I go to for anything. unless they can't get it anywhere else, and then I'll go, well, anyway, it's beside the point. I have no intention on entering into a customer relationship with that company. I'm not going to be purchasing things from that company, and they intended to sell my data to other companies, and they said it in their privacy policy. It's not like they were even hiding that information. They were very overt in telling me they're going to sell my data to companies that may have products and services that would be of value to me. Okay, they got salespeople writing these things, because all that is saying, we're going to sell your data and we're going to make some money on it. That's all it is. The products and services that may be of interest to me, all I want to do is record my glucose readings and have them charted so I can see my progress, so I can talk to my doctor about strategies that I need to do with my diabetes. And they're going to record my progress or lack thereof or whatever. So I got rid of that app, and I kept searching. I did the very thing, because I searched and searched and searched, and I did the very thing I did not want to do. I stopped looking for an app to record my glucose readings. Why is that? Because I couldn't find one that didn't force me to create an account for the privilege of using their app. Because of that, I stopped testing my glucose, because I wasn't writing it down anymore. You know, when watched behavior changes, when we have to be accountable, even if it's to ourselves, by writing things down, that watched behavior changes. And so when I stopped testing my glucose, my A1C just went through the roof. It soared. If you're not sure what any of this is, because you're not infected by diabetes, first of all, be grateful, be thankful. But number two, look up what A1C is. The letter A, the number 1, the letter C. And you'll understand the significance behind that. It's way more technical than I can explain. Because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, and I don't play one on TV, not even on YouTube, or not even on this podcast. Well, anyway, so after quite a long time, when my A1C was like at a 9, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just put that on the internet. I finally found 2, not just 1, but 2 privacy-respecting apps that did not require me to create an account. Because remember, account equals data collection. Data collection, data analysis, potential data breaches, selling your data to other companies, etc. Any account creates an opportunity for data collection. So anyway, I tested these 2 apps for a while. I finally chose one and deleted the other, and it's the one I currently use today. And I found it on an app for my Android phone called F-Droid. F-Droid is wonderful for privacy. I'm just going to leave it at that, because I will talk about F-Droid in another episode. But a lot of effort just to protect my medical information from companies, but yet I just want the information from myself. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. Just one app is all I'm talking about here. There are tons of companies out there, and they collect your data, they sell it to others. These are called data brokers. So we're going to stop the data leak, and the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a tourniquet on that hose. We're going to stop the hose from leaking our data. We're going to put all kinds of bandages on that bucket to stop the data leak. And the first 4 major companies that collect an insane amount of data on you. Number 1, Google. Number 2, Facebook or Meta, whatever you want to call it. 3 is Amazon. 4 is Microsoft. And I kind of put them in that order because that's my understanding as far as how much market penetration those companies have. Now, we might not be able to find alternatives for all of these products and services that the companies provide. You've heard me on other episodes just list out all of the products and services that Google has, much less Facebook and Amazon. My goodness, it's like they're putting a lot of companies out of business with the variety of products that they sell and services and so forth. We might not be able to find alternatives for everything, but what I'm going to do is talk you through some different strategies, some different mindsets that will help you evaluate what you really want to use and potentially eliminate or at least reduce your dependency on these companies. You know, the addiction to convenience, the addiction to free. I love saying that. In an effort to use the same or similar products and services, you may end up having to pay for it, and you need to consider that as the currency instead of the data collection being the currency. We're going to look for and find alternatives to that are more privacy respecting, than that might even cost us some money. And that's the secret. Free and convenience, that's what got us into this mess. And we have become very vulnerable to companies that provide us with free services. I firmly believe that complaining is not a strategy. And to sit here and have me complain about everything that these big four companies and other companies do to collect and store data, that's not productive. Complaining is not going to solve our problem. You can do that on Facebook. People do it all the time. They complain about politics, and they complain about this, and they complain about that. But it doesn't get you anywhere, because complaining is not a strategy. So instead, we need to have strategies and take action, because we are the ultimate guardians of our own privacy. We should have a reasonable expectation of privacy. I love this phrase. We have the right to remain private. I know that sounds similar to something else. But we do have to do more than just accept the societal norms. We have to take action that goes above and beyond what the average person will do. Most people will try to make things convenient for themselves. But like I said before, convenience is the enemy of privacy. So first thing I'm going to do is recommend alternatives for the big four companies, these big four data collectors. Most of the focus is going to be on the first one on the list, and that's Google. The previous episode, I started listing all the different services that Google offers for free. It took a long time to rattle it off, and it was just scratching the surface. There's a lot I did not include. And in the very last episode, I talked about how your email can be compared to the museum of you. Well, Google will scan and read your email and store it permanently for you, even after you've deleted it. Did you know that even after you delete your email with Google, they still store it and they analyze it. They analyze your habits. They continue and they combine that with their Google Maps service. So you know where you're going, and they know where you've been, and they know how long you've been there, and they know the route you take, and all that kind of stuff. They analyze how regular you take the same route. Every day we go to work, we go to the same place, we go to the same route, because we're creatures of habit. They analyze the same time of day. They analyze the route that you take at the same time of day. And if you go, and then you got your Google Calendar right there, and it's right there to basically tell Google to confirm all those routes that you took using Google Maps. They may see where you're going. They try to line that up with the route that you take. And are you creeped out yet, by the way? They're worse than Santa Claus. They see you when you're sleeping. They know when you're awake. They know when you've been bad or good. But they keep a permanent record, and Santa doesn't. Well, anyway, just kidding. What could possibly go wrong with all that data collection? Because it's not just collection, it's analyzed as well. We need an email service that not only does not scan, does not read, and does not store our email permanently. And instead, we need something that has end-to-end encryption, zero knowledge end-to-end encryption, so that nobody else except you and the recipient of the email can read the email. Encryption is very important. We've talked about that before. Encryption goes back to like World War II, or even maybe before that, where we had messages being transmitted and it was encrypted, and we had cryptographers and people who tried to crack the code of other countries' cryptograph so that they could know what the enemy was doing. So instead of Gmail, what I've done is I've moved over to a service called ProtonMail. Proton has all the services that I want without the data collection, without the data storage, and they offer zero knowledge end-to-end encryption. Zero knowledge end-to-end encryption means that they do not have a way to reset your password. And they cannot read your email. They cannot decrypt it. It's all garbage. It's all gibberish. And it's by design. They do it intentionally. Intentionally inconvenient. How's that? Wow, I got it in. All right, good deal. Anyway, so secondly, they offer a virtual private network service, also known as a VPN. Many of you have heard of a VPN. With their VPN service, they don't have logs of where you've been. They don't record anything. So by using their VPN, you can even hide where you are at physically, where you're going on the internet, the websites you visit, all that. We'll talk more about VPNs in a separate episode where I can give you a more detailed explanation. For now, just know that ProtonVPN does not keep records of where you have been on the internet. They don't collect your IP addresses that you've been to. They don't collect and record website names, none of that stuff. I also use Proton Calendar, which is also encrypted, so that even Proton cannot read my calendar unless they're logged in as me, and they have no way to do that because they can't reset my password. They can't read my email. They don't store my deleted email permanently, and even if they did, it would be useless to them because it's encrypted. This is by design. Proton also offers a password manager called Proton Pass. They also offer a cloud service called Proton Drive, and all for about $100 a year. If you go to the link in the show notes, you can visit Proton. You can try out their email service for free. It's a lot more limited, and there's a lot less that you can do with it, but it's still encrypted end-to-end and zero knowledge. It's well worth the $100, about $8 a month on average. When I say $100, it's actually, you pay a little under $200 for 2 years to get the best price. I think that comes out to like $7.99 a month or something like that. But when you click the link in the show notes, you can go to the website and read all the details. I would rather have them represent themselves rather than me try to explain it. It has more limitations, like I said, on the free version. You can try them out and see what services, if you like the services they provide. Now, regarding the other three services, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft, I'll cover those in the next episode because not so much in the details, but in the strategies that you can make yourself less vulnerable to the data collection. So for now, let's just review some of the main points from today's episode. We are leaking our data, our personally identifying information, just by virtue of the products and services that we use. Changing what we use to more privacy-respecting products and services can help us stop, or at least slow down, this data leak. If we don't take, number two, if we don't take action to stop the data leak, most of our efforts to protect our privacy will be worthless. Number three, these data leaks are really not your fault because the many big tech companies stack the deck in their favor by using free, by trading free. There we go. Sorry, I was reading my notes wrong. Many big tech companies stack the deck in their favor by trading free for data collection. Number four, accounts equal data collection. Data is the currency that we pay for free and convenient. When you create an account with anyone, just remember that it is going to be more than likely a data leak. If nothing else, when you create an account, they're asking for your personally identifying information. Consider moving away or at least lower. Number five, consider moving away or at least lowering your dependence from the big four tech companies, which are Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft. Number six, consider using a service like Proton for your email, your VPN, your password manager, your cloud service, your calendar. The link is in the show notes once again. And lastly, number seven, and this is actually not something that I said before, but please like and subscribe to this show. It really helps us spread the word about personal privacy. So that's all for now from Intentionally Inconvenient. Next time in part 2 of Stopping the Data Leak, we'll look at strategies and alternatives with working with Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft. Until next time, this is Tim Jensen reminding you to stay safe and stay private. Thanks for listening.
That's all for now from Intentionally Inconvenient, leaving you with a challenge to question the cost of online convenience. If you want to keep learning, subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Your reviews and 5-star ratings help reach more listeners. Until next time, remember, your privacy is never a lost cause. Stay safe, stay private.